There had been a strange leak somewhere in Seoul, but everyone brushed it off like it was nothing serious. People went about their day, and so did Seok Woo, a workaholic fund manager who prioritized work over family. To career-oriented people, he was a role model. But to his daughter and the ex-wife who were tired of being invisible, he was a selfish man who would always prioritize himself and his work over the people he claimed to love. This day, which happened to be his daughter's birthday, was no different. All she wanted was a trip to Busan so she could celebrate with her mother. But instead, he handed her a gift, but this time, she was adamant. Early the next morning, they got on a KTX train heading to Busan, unaware that tragedy was about to strike as a woman infected by a deadly virus had managed to sneak on board. Before the train took off, Seok Woo dozed off, giving Soo-won enough time to sneak out in search of a restroom. Meanwhile, the infected woman had started to show signs that something wasn't right, but no one noticed. Soo-won tried the first restroom she saw, but quickly stepped away after seeing a homeless man hiding inside, repeatedly mumbling, "We're all going to die." Along the corridor, she ran into a couple, Sang-hwa, a soon-to-be father with a loud personality and a soft heart, and his expectant wife, Seong-kyung, both of whom would soon become two of the most important allies she and her father would ever have. While Soo-won searched for a restroom, things took a dark turn in another part of the train. The infected woman could no longer hide what was happening to her. Her body twisted, her breathing changed, and before anyone understood what was going on, she pounced on an unsuspecting hostess. The poor hostess tried to fight her off, staggered into a coach full of passengers, and managed to push the creature off her. But it was already too late. She had been bitten, and within seconds, she had turned. That was when things exploded. Within moments, the entire coach was in chaos. People were bitten left and right, falling over each other as the infection ripped through them. The worst part? This nightmare was only happening in one section of the train. So passengers in other coaches were oblivious to the danger heading their way. One of the attendants who witnessed the attack tried to move passengers away from the chaos, but he didn't make it far. He was caught too. Around the same time, Seok Woo, who was now awake and searching for his daughter, finally found her, and the two of them broke into a desperate run as almost a quarter of the train had become zombies. Somehow, in all that panic, Seok Woo, his daughter, Sang-hwa, and Sang-hwa's pregnant wife managed to dodge the chaos, reach a safe coach, and slam the door shut. But that relief didn't last. Right after, Seok got a call from his mom, only to realize she had been infected too. The situation was getting messier by the minute, and seeing how delicate things were and how helping others at this point could turn dangerous, Seok told his daughter that now was the time to prioritize self-preservation over being good. Then came the announcement that the train would make an emergency stop at Daejeon Station, where military personnel were waiting to rescue them. On the surface, it was a huge relief. But what sounded like the best news they'd heard since the nightmare began soon turned out to be the biggest mistake of the day. Upon arrival, Seok Woo pulled Soo-won aside and led her toward a different exit. Soo-won didn't know that her father had earlier reached out to a connection to help them avoid being quarantined, and that was the reason for his secrecy. But when she found out, she tried to warn the others, only to be stopped. Hurt and disappointed, she told him this selfishness was exactly why her mother left. Before he could respond, everything fell apart again. The soldiers waiting to rescue them had also transformed into zombies. In a blink, the station became a battlefield with zombies pouring out from every corner, attacking everyone in sight. Panic split the group, and in the scramble, Soo-won was torn away from her father. The fight for survival started all over again, fiercer, messier, and more hopeless than before. While scrambling for safety, Seok also had a close call, but escaped, barely slipping through a doorway before a swarm of zombies crashed into it. Safe on the other side, he, Sang-hwa, and 3 others tried to lock the door, but couldn't. Still, they didn't give up. They pushed with everything they had because they knew even the slightest opening meant doom. Meanwhile, passengers who managed to escape the station were scrambling onto the train. Some made it, others didn't, attacked by zombies that had fallen from the upper floors straight onto the roof. By the time the train moved again, The survivors were split up, the majority in one coach, and Suan, Seongkyong, and two others in another back at the station. The men finally managed to shut the door after a long struggle. But the victory was short-lived as the glass cracked under pressure and gave way. Seeing this, they ran as fast as they could and boarded another coach, but not before two of the three high school students with them fell prey. As the train sped off, the engineer announced there would be no more stops until Busan, meaning whatever happened in between, they had to deal with themselves. Everyone was shaken and trying to reach loved ones. One high school girl reached out to her boyfriend Yongguk, and Suan used Songkyeong's phone to call Sanghwa, hoping her father was alive. Swan and her group were 4 coaches away, while Yongguk's girlfriend was 6 coaches away. That meant Seok-woo would have to pass through multiple infected coaches to reach them. But the danger wasn't just the distance. The coaches leading to 13 and 15 were filled with bloodthirsty zombies. Fueled by hope, and with no alternative route, Seok and his group decided to fight through, with Sanghwa leading the charge. They got past the first coach, but in the second, they discovered something. The zombies were practically blind in darkness and relied entirely on sound. Using this to their advantage, they slipped through safely and eventually reunited with their families. For a moment, it felt like things were turning around. After a while, Seok and his daughter's group continued toward Coach 15, unaware they were walking into a death trap, all because a power-drunk COO had convinced everyone that Seok-woo's group was infected. Sadly, Seok and his group found out only when they arrived to find the door locked. By then, zombies were closing in. While Yongguk tried to force the door open, Seok-woo and Sanghwa fought off the swarm, pushing through Coach 13. It didn't take long to realize they were losing ground, so Sanghwa, seeing no hope, made Seok promise to look after his wife and their unborn child while he stayed behind to hold back the swarm. By the time Seok-woo and Yongguk pushed their way into Coach 15, it was too late. Sanghwa was gone. So was In-gil, an elderly woman who didn't make it inside. Instead of helping the survivors who had just fought their way in, the passengers panicked and pushed Seok-woo, Suan, Seongkyong, and the others back into the vestibule. That rejection ended up saving their lives. Moments later, Jong-gil, heartbroken over losing her sister, opened the door to the zombies, and within seconds, the entire coach was wiped out. On the other side of the door, Seok and his group were shaken, but safe. After a brief emotional moment with his daughter, Seok got another call, news that devastated him. The outbreak had been caused by a leak at the biotech company he oversaw. The guilt crushed him, and from that moment, he vowed to protect the people with him at any cost. Soon after, the train screeched to a halt at East Daegu Station. The tracks were blocked, and the conductor announced he would try to switch locomotives, giving instructions for any remaining survivors. Somehow, the COO had also survived and was hiding in a restroom. The moment he heard the announcement, he pushed the last surviving crew member into zombies to clear his path, then did the same to the young couple who had reunited earlier. As Suan and the others prepared to escape, disaster struck. Another train slammed into theirs, throwing everyone around and leaving Seok-woo, Suan, Seongkyong, and the homeless man trapped under debris. Seok-woo was knocked unconscious. Meanwhile, the substitute train was warming up on the tracks and preparing to leave. Seeing it, the COO sprinted toward it and tripped. The engineer rushed out to rescue him, but before he could pull him up, zombies attacked, while the COO escaped, unaware he was infected. Back at the crash site, Seok-woo woke up. With time running out and zombies closing in, the homeless man sacrificed himself so the others could escape. His sacrifice bought them enough time to reach the train. Eventually, the 3 of them boarded and made their way to the engineer's cubicle, only to be confronted by the COO, who was now fully infected and transforming. A fight broke out beside the rails. After a tense struggle, Seok finally pushed him off the train, but like before, the victory was short-lived. The COO had bitten him. Realizing his fate, Seok handed Suan over to Seongkyong and steadied his voice as he prepared her for goodbye. But Suan broke down, crying and begging him to stay. He held her hand for as long as he could, then gently pulled away, shut the door, and walked to the end of the train. As the infection took over, he took one final moment to think about the day she was born. And with a smile, he leaped off before transforming. Suan screamed and sobbed while Seongkyong held her tight. With no one else left to rely on, the two continued their journey to Busan. When they finally arrived, the city looked deserted. The train tracks jammed. They were forced to walk through a dark tunnel on foot. On the other end, military snipers were stationed, ready to eliminate any threats. The tension hung thick until Suan, voice shaky, began singing Aloha O, the same song she couldn't finish at her recital. The sound carried through the tunnel, and the soldiers lowered their guns, realizing they were human. If this story left you thinking and unsettled, consider smashing the subscribe button for more gripping movie recaps.